Hi everyone, Hirsch Shah here again and reporting from Auckland. Today is 5th of January 2024, and this is actually a really interesting topic and certainly one that we all think about, perhaps a lot of the time, or certainly at some points in our life, and that is what really determines your health and, how young you look and how long you live. Of course, we keep hearing it's those two sacred things, diet and exercise. And, they certainly get a lot of airtime, those two things. And don't get me wrong, diet and exercise are, of course, very, very important. We also hear some other things such as, not drinking, not smoking, drinking plenty of water. So I guess those would more or less sort of come under diet, not drinking alcohol, drinking plenty of water, even sort of smoking, I guess loosely or broadly comes under diet in the sense that you're taking something into your body. So so we hear a lot about diet and exercise, and then of course we all know that friend, or we all have that friend who eats nothing but junk. Drinks nothing but soft drinks and alcohol. Doesn't even drink water. But scary. Doesn't lift a finger for exercise, and as fit as a fiddle. And then we all have that other friend we've heard of, at least someone, or we knew of someone at some point, who is the opposite, who goes for a run every day, who eats pretty well, including vegetables, and poor guy just can't stop gaining weight, and he looks years older than he really is. And one very good example of this, I should remember in my childhood, during the 1990s, when I was a kid, I remember hearing of a pretty famous example in the United States. And at the time, two men had died. And the first one was sadly a man who died at the age of 40. He had if I remember correctly, if memory serves me right, he had a heart attack on a run at the age of 40 and just died. And he ate very well. And of course, on the run, as you know, he ran. I think he probably ran every day or he exercised on a regular basis. So he ate very well and he exercised, but still somehow heart attack at the age of 40 and dropped dead, unfortunately. And then there was a second man in the United States who died around the same time in the 1990s. And, he gulped cream. He was a chain smoker. I don't think he exercised or he did anything good for his body, at least not deliberately. And lo and behold, he lived to 110. And you hear examples like that, and of course, I'm sure there are many, many more. And you think, honestly, what gives? Is it really diet and exercise? And this is a bit of a study done by myself over the years, as I've just sort of read books, read things online, thought about it, spoken to people, observed real life examples. And again, don't get me wrong, diet and exercise are very, very important. They're probably the, some of the most important things. But I think there's about, oh, sorry, it's the landlord's dog in the background, beautiful little German Shepherd. Um, yeah, you probably heard him growl just now. Sorry about that. But yeah, so diet and exercise, don't get me wrong, are very, very important, and they certainly get a lot of airtime. But I think there's literally about sort of maybe 10 or 11 or 12 other things which also come into play. And I remember the list I made. I'll just see if I can try to get it right. Another one is genes, definitely very important, and unfortunately, it's something you can do nothing about. But it is very important. It does contribute a lot to, your health and how young you look and how long you live. So there's genes, and I'd say there's mental health. That's definitely a big one. Mental health. We have today scientists and psychologists, psychiatrists, people like that, who argue that mental health is as important as physical health, possibly even more important. As they say, it's all in the mind, isn't it? So I would say the other things apart on top of diet and exercise that determine your health and how long you live and how you look. So there's uh, genes, mental health, hygiene, posture, your work life balance, social interaction. I think that's a very important one. I remember reading somewhere that feeling very, very lonely can be as bad for you as smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. And I hope that's not true, but that's what I've read. So, social interaction, even love and intimacy is another one. Then there's, exposure to sunlight. And again, not too much, not too little. Too much sunlight is obviously bad for your skin and contributes to skin cancer. Too little sunlight, you lack vitamin D. So exposure to sunlight and a similar thing, sleep. Obviously too much sleep is not good, but too little sleep is certainly not good either. And what else would there be? smiling and laughing. I remember reading somewhere that, laughing a lot can be actually as good for you as exercising. If you're sitting down and watching a comedy show or movie and laughing, it can actually be as good for you as exercising. I remember reading that. So what do we have? So on top of the usual diet and exercise, which we hear about all the time, there was genes, mental health, uh, hygiene, posture, exposure to sun, sleep, work-life balance, uh, social interaction, love and intimacy, smiling and laughing. And actually, to add to that, I would say also just exactly where you live. Obviously, it's better to, say, live out in a nice rural area, in the countryside where you're surrounded by nature and less civilization. Even where there's less, telecommunication signals. It's obviously better to live in a place like that than it is to live, say, perhaps in downtown Tokyo or New York or Bombay, in a high rise where you're surrounded by people and right next to you is a pylon, and on all the other sides are other high rises. You never stop hearing the traffic, 24/7. There's obviously a lot of pollution as well, which you're constantly breathing in. So, yeah, where you live and work also comes into it. So, that's really my analysis. That's my conclusion. Yes, diet and exercise are very important, but don't forget, you also have all those other things which come into play. And I think when you include all those other things, you can really see, what determines someone's state of health, how young they look, and how long they live. And it's certainly something to keep in mind when you take care of your own health. Unfortunately, again, there are a few things we can't really help, like genes, but most of those things you can help. So it's certainly something to take on board, something to strive to improve in your life, perhaps a good New Year's resolution. There you go. Thank you.